All right, guys, I'm going to tell you in the very beginning of this video, this is going to be a journey. We are going to talk a lot about heroes. We are going to answer a very long time question, finally, which is, when is heroes content coming to Dragon Ball Legends? We're going to talk about why I think that there may actually be a possibility, because to answer that question, there was zero possibility. Maybe 1% chance, but from everything I heard, everything I know about how they handle this IP and how they handle Dragon Ball, that was never on the table for Dragon Ball Legends specifically. It wasn't on the table for Dokkan's global version either until a catalyst came in that allowed for that to be a possibility. We'll talk about that too, and how Legends could potentially get the same treatment. We have a lot of things to discuss. So first and foremost, let me know in the comment section down below a couple of answers to a couple of questions. If Heroes content comes, what character are you most excited to see? They have, if you don't know what Heroes is, they got all the what if stuff, like freaking Super Saiyan 4 Vegito and just crazy stuff. They got, I really want to see actually Goku in the Grand Priest outfit. Oh my God, that was such a cool fit for him. They got so much stuff, right? So Heroes is just that what if stuff. It is what it is. Anyways, moving on, let me know what that is. Secondly, if we ever got an English game again, would you support it? Because we've had an English game before. I don't think it did as good as they were hoping it would, and that may be a reason as to why we still don't have Heroes content today. So let's go ahead and break through. Listen to as much as you can, because this is going to be a doozy. So the reason for this video today was the physical card game. This is not the physical card game, okay? Dragon Ball Super TCG. If you were to go to your local card shop or Target or whatever, they announced a digital version of the card game. We're going to watch the trailer. I'm not going to play it in the audio, just going to talk over it. If you want to check it out on Bandai's channel. They actually are releasing a digital version. This just made too much sense for them to do. So I don't know why it took so long. The card game's been out for almost like 5 years or whatever. It took forever. I guess better late than never. So if you were to go to your app store right now, you'd be able to download a tutorial app for it, but that wouldn't be an actual card game. I don't know how this will be handled, if they'll have all the cards, if you can input some sort of scan and get your cards physical in there, if it's going to be like Master Duel, where it's got almost like a gacha based system. I don't know what they're doing with this. There are a lot of different avenues they're going. But this is interesting because it could be a catalyst and a vehicle to allow for Legends to get content through a collaboration down the line, because we'll talk about other reasons as to why that is. But there are a lot of things that you guys need to know when it comes to this IP. I'll tell you, I always try to tell people this whenever I can. The people, and this has been changing recently. Thankfully. The people that manage Dragon Ball are the best way to describe them is super old school. They don't want to collaborate with anybody. They don't like anybody else. They think their stuff is the hottest stuff, and they only want their stuff to be portrayed a certain way. They don't want to show, like here's the deal. The reason why we don't have, like, you know, the ability to customize Goku's outfit in like Legends for whatever reason, like put on like freaking, say you wanted to put Goku in Vegito's clothes, right? The reason you can't really do that is because they want their characters to be represented in a certain fashion. They don't believe in that. Now again, this has been changing, because lately they're being a lot more lenient with this IP through stuff like allowing for a Dragon Ball to collaborate with Fortnite. There's a lot of things that have been changing, but up until recently, that's just an example. They are super tight about this IP, and I understand why to a degree, but it's the only anime IP I've experienced this with. Naruto, it doesn't matter what else it is. Only Dragon Ball is treated this way. And for better or worse, it's been really shut in and unfortunate, because even when we get like Heroes figurines localized, I don't know if this is still the case because I haven't bought one in a couple of years, they were being marketed as Dragon Ball Super instead of Dragon Ball Heroes, because that IP is basically banned outside of Japan. They are not promoting it as Heroes outside of Japan until recently, okay? Bear with me. Back in 2018 at San Diego Comic-Con, they did have a physical English Dragon Ball Heroes arcade machine. You may have seen these cards before. This is an English Dragon Ball Heroes arcade card or game card. I have one of these graded. Shout out to Ryan, he sent it to me. I think it's a 9 or a 10, I'm not sure, but nonetheless, there are actual Dragon Ball Heroes cards, only a few of them, but they did try to run this and try to make it happen for us. They, unfortunately, it seems, it's been years, 2018, it's been years, so it seems like they scrapped the idea of giving us this arcade system. There was rumors and talk about it being in Dave and Buster's, things like that. But I'm guessing because we don't have this same culture, we don't. You gotta understand. The Heroes, like there's all these card games. Not all these card games. There's all these cards that are coming out for the card game for Heroes, but they don't do anything. They don't function in any way unless you can interact with the actual arcade game, right? And what happens is the arcade machine is constantly getting updated, getting patched, pushing through new content, same as our mobile games are, right? Not to the degree where it's like an every week thing, I'd imagine, but they're constantly getting updates, right? Now, they have produced games in the past for 3DS and stuff like that, and most recently we did have World Mission. I'll talk about that in just a second. But for the most part, Heroes characters and content, whether you could say they originate from Dragon Ball Online or whatever, like it doesn't really matter. Those characters, you know which ones I'm talking about if you're familiar with Dragon Ball Online all the way back from like 2010 or whatever. But the point is those characters have largely been tied to Heroes and only Heroes. Now, there are characters that have been able to transcend that and as a result have been in other games prior. So let's take a look at Dokkan here. So Dokkan hadn't had access. Okay, so Dokkan, if you're not familiar with it, has two versions. They have the global version and the Japanese version. That's not unheard of. Legends, for example, has two versions. The difference is Dokkan is one of those gacha games that has a time disparity between their English version and their Japanese version. I don't know why they haven't caught up. They've had several opportunities over several years to catch up, and every time they get like a Dokkan Fest away, two Dokkan Fests away, for whatever reason, they just don't. Even One Piece Treasure Cruise, which is a little bit older than this game, said, you know what, we're going to get them on the same time. And they actually caught up the global version. I don't know what they're doing with Dokkan. Nonetheless, I digress. So, once upon a time, they would get Heroes banners on the Japanese version that would not make their way to global. They did not start getting Heroes content on global until a catalyst came out, which was World Mission. Now, before I move to World Mission, I need to mention games like Xenoverse. Dokkan did get Xenoverse-based characters. They did have a Xenoverse, once upon a time, a Xenoverse collaboration, and they introduced, I believe on that banner was Xenotrunks, Toa, Mira, Demigra, those characters. Now, those are characters that are also, you may know, from Heroes. So, Legends is an interesting spot, because here's three ways Legends can get access, well, I guess four. They can get access to Heroes characters. For one, Bandai or the Shueisha, whoever is the overarching bosses of Dragon Ball, say, okay, we don't care. You can get these characters. Just do them whenever you want on Legends. We just go for it. Whatever. We already got them on Dokkan. We see that that's a success apparently. Just do them whenever you want. You don't need any collab or whatever. That's one way. Secondly, they can get them if we get a new Xenoverse game. Right? Because Xenoverse has access to, again, some of these characters. Like I just mentioned, they don't got a swath of them. They don't got a ton of them. You know, they don't got Masked Vegeta. They don't got a lot of stuff. But you can get some characters like Masked Saiyan. I'm cool with that. I want to see more, but I'm cool with that as a starter. That's one way they can get access to that. Another way is if we have another World Mission or Dragon Ball Heroes English game that releases, even if it's not the arcade system game, if we have another Switch game like World Mission 2 or whatever that's localized, because this was the first Dragon Ball Heroes game that had actually gotten localized, by the way. They had those DS ones or whatever. None of them got localized. But if we have another one localized, then, you know, that's a thing. Or, like I was saying, this card game could be the catalyst with its digital version. If they decide to do some sort of collaboration with this for its release or something like that, you may not know, but this TCG has access to Heroes content. So the hilarious thing about this is that we had no Heroes content. They were even stripping the name of Heroes off of labels, but all the while, somewhere along the way in about 2020 or whatever, they had some of this stuff prior, like Masked Saiyan, Toa, and Demigra, but we don't care about those characters because Xenoverse, right? But somewhere along the way around 2020, the Dragon Ball Super card game, which is English only, started putting out Heroes characters. So we actually do have some semblance of marketing for Heroes characters outside of Japan. So, like, this card game was always a bit of a dark horse for Legends or for any other Heroes content to come to these games in the future, any other upcoming games, whatever, or like console games. This card game as a collaborator has been a dark horse for a catalyst for a long time, and with a digital version being on a similar platform, it says PC, but I'd imagine there's also a mobile client too. It doesn't really matter if there is or isn't. Having just more eyes on Heroes characters, similar to World Mission, for example, could be a catalyst. And that's the entire premise of today's video, why it even exists, because of that. And also because I really wanted to answer this stupid question. People ask all the time. People are under the assumption that it's just guaranteed to come. That wasn't the case. There was literally no plans to make this stuff happen on Legends, even though Dokkan has it, right? So this could be the catalyst. The card game has it. We've actually been having marketing. Like, it's really weird. It's not called Heroes, like I was saying, but that's the case. So let me just say this. If you bought World Mission and supported it, thank you. If you didn't, I mean, I understand why you might not have if you didn't like it or whatever, but understand that when they give us stuff like this, it's important we support it if we want more. Because this was a test. The physical arcade was a test. If these things aren't successful, they'll say, okay, the Western audience, or whatever, we're in the West, right? I can't even, I'm so far gone from that. This audience does not care for this product, so they will not make it, right? They will not make it. And if you notice with this game, they didn't do a damn thing. They dropped like 1 or 2 updates, I think, and they were done with this game. They were done with this game. I think this game flopped heavily, especially in Japan. I think this game flopped super bad. And that's part of the issue with making these games in the first place for Heroes, is the Japanese audience is just like, okay, yeah, it's cool, but I can't put my physical cards in this game, probably, right? I don't remember if that was a system on there, but I can't do that. I'll just go play the actual arcade, you know? So this game, I think this game flopped really bad, which is unfortunate. It's really bad for us. So if we ever get another one, that's a way. That's a way. Even if they want to make it like Steam only, that's a possibility. That's a way. So to conclude the video, oh yeah, I was talking about Dokkan. Dokkan didn't have this stuff until World Mission, right? And then when World Mission came out, Dokkan was allowed to, from there, continue getting. I was super interested in what the first anniversary, because they would get these every anniversary for Heroes. I was interested in what the first anniversary after Heroes World Mission released, if they would keep doing it. They did keep doing it. And as recently as just like a couple of weeks ago, they got another freaking banner. So they're still putting these products out. So like I said, with the card game, we have promotion for Heroes in this part of the world. We still have it in Dokkan too. So there is, unlike years ago, there is a backbone for this. And if they're still doing it on Global Dokkan, I'd imagine that that's because it's successful and they've been doing it thus far, because they don't have to keep doing this. There is, again, if you were not playing back in 2017, 18, whatever, back then, before they started making them on Global, those cards were sitting in the database. They were English translated and everything for a while, for a really long time, with the thought of them never releasing on the global version of Dokkan Battle, until World Mission came out and was a catalyst for that to happen, right? But that tells you that they wanted to bring them. They were not allowed to bring them. And that takes us all the way back to my point in the very beginning of this video when I said the people that manage Dragon Ball, that are in charge of Dragon Ball, did not want that to happen. Those cards were in the database. They were available on Global. Well, they were not available. They were in the files for Global. They were not available. They were never made available until they were allowed to be made available. And so to conclude, when it comes to these games, the people in charge are the ones that are dictating what these guys are allowed to do. They can't just say, oh, I want to collaborate with Heroes. Oh, I want to collaborate with Fighters or Kakarot and put their original characters in our game with just make it happen, right? If they don't want, for example, Shallot and Dokkan, they won't let it happen. You can't just say it. Even if they're like best buddies, the producers of Dokkan Legends, they want to make it happen, blah blah blah. The bosses say no, it's a done deal. Just like work. Anywhere you go, if there's somebody above you, that's the case, right? So that's the same deal with these mobile games. They dictate what they can put out. They dictate the time frame for these releases, stuff like that. And that also leads to, and I'm not going to get into this, that leads to a deeper discussion on celebrations, right? And why celebrations feature a lot of the same characters. There's always a Vegeta, a Gogeta, things like that, because they know they're hot ticket item. They know what they can do. They know what they'll be able to put out in these time periods, and that's why certain things happen. That's also why, to conclude the discussion, Dokkan and Legends a lot of times kind of got the same stuff going on. This has been happening for years, but the last year and a half has been really, really evident that they're doing some cross promotion. The bosses are saying, hey, we can get eyes on both games, we can make more money. So, okay, we're going to conclude there. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Yeah, I above all else, I hope that this card game is successful, not just because of the Heroes related stuff. I really did enjoy this card game for my years playing it. A couple of years I was playing it. I have, you know, trophies and stuff. I really did enjoy this. If it's successful, and depending on how it's handled, I think I might make a pivot back to it in a mobile or in a digital platform. I used to enjoy going, but like the card game became too hard to get, and the cards got really bad there for 2020, 2021. There was not enough cards out, so I couldn't play anymore. And then, you know, all the stuff in the world started happening with 2020. You know what happened then? So just it wasn't available to me. And the problem with it was I got too far behind, and I was like, nah, I'm not gonna play anymore. That's kind of, dude. I have thousands of cards in my freaking closet right now in boxes. So I want to play, and I hope you guys, you know, check this game out when it comes out next year. And yeah, have an awesome day, guys.